Hey everybody, it is Devon from the Maniology team, and today we are going to be covering how to strike a pose to spice up your social media. And for all of you who are kind of new to maybe taking photos on social media, this is going to be the perfect live. Also, if you're an ambassador or you're wanting to get sponsored by companies, this is definitely the live that you should be tuning into. Okay, so today's topic, before we get into taking photos and all that good stuff, I want to make it very clear. We are not the model authority. We are a nail stamping company. We are not hand shaming anyone. We're not hand shaming cuticles, nails, photos. That's not the point of today's live. Today's live is just really to talk about some simple techniques and things that you can do to improve your photos. Again, you do not have to listen to us. If you want to do things your own way, that's completely fine. It's just that we get a lot of questions about how to improve my photos. How do I take better hand poses? So we wanted to cover that in today's live. So usually I work with our models and stuff during our photo shoots. So I'm usually the one to help, do the nails and also to help adjust the fingers. So today, what I'm going to show you is a bunch of pictures of my own hands. So that way you guys can see the mistakes that I have been making in some of the photos that I've taken. So also some other things that we want to discuss before we jump into this. What is the goal of your social media? For example, if you just want to take pretty photos so that way you just have like a cute Instagram or a cute TikTok, whatever it is, then, the most important focus is going to be able to see your nail art clearly. However, if you are the kind of person where you're like, hey, I want to get on the ambassador train. I want to get free products. I'm trying to grow my social media and turn it into a side hustle. Then there's going to be a couple of other things that you're going to need to do in order to kind of reach those goals. So thinking about those goals when you're trying to go into like style your photos and everything is part of, taking those great images. So tips before we jump into these photos, because these pictures are gnarly, is one, make sure your lighting is always good to go. Natural lighting is great, but cool fluorescent lighting is even better. Stay away from warm lighting, and I'll show you why in a little bit. A second thing that you would like to know is try to make sure that you have a good background. It can be plain, it can be colored, it can be textured, and I'll show you some examples in this live, but background is important. Again, no one wants to see a blurry picture with dim lighting. We can't really see your nail art. It makes it just a little bit more difficult. And the third thing is moisturize your hands. So again, you don't have to follow what we're saying. This is not like an authority thing and we're trying to like tell you if you don't do those things, it's not going to be good. That's not the point of this. The point is to just share some helpful tips that we do when we take photo shoots. So that way you guys can all know this information too, in case you're trying to change your photo styles or whatever. So again, lighting is number one. Number two is your background, and number three is having moisturized hands. It goes a long way. But also, the other thing too is that now we can jump into this. Okay, so these are 4 photos that I took earlier. Some things that I want to point out in these photos. These are my no photos. So if I took a bunch of photos and I had to go through the reel and see which ones that I would want to keep, I would probably not keep any of these personally. And I'll explain why in a little bit. Okay, let's start with this first photo. So the lighting is kind of not great. You can see over here, there's shadow. It's just not the best. And I recommend when you're doing poses, the very first pose that I want to talk to you guys about is this pose. So it's literally just sticking your hand in front of the camera like this. Why is this a great pose? This is a great pose because it lengthens the fingers and the nails. I personally have very short fingers, and I actually also have really short nail beds. So every opportunity I have to lengthen my fingers, I'm trying to take it. So usually you'll even notice too when you look around at other like nail bloggers and Instagrammers and stuff, you'll see similar types of photos. These are just some of the popular poses, but again, there's tons and you can always play around. So this pose, this like straightforward angled pose, again, you can do it in multiple ways. You can do it this way, you can do it coming, sorry, let me try from this side. You can try doing it coming down this way. There are many different ways. You can even try going straight in the center if you wanted. Sorry. I don't want you guys to get the logo because that's kind of distracting. So yeah, you can even go straight up in the center like how I'm doing right now. There are many ways to do this straight-handed pose. And again, part of the reason I love it is because it really helps elongate the fingers. So if you have little hands like me, I actually have very short hands, or short fingers, this is a great pose to help lengthen. But in this photo, I have this weird shadowing going on here, and that's kind of something that I'd want to stay away from. The next pose that I'm going to talk to you about is the bear claw. I think a lot of you guys have heard that term for this pose. So it could be several different variations of the bear claw. There is, holding a polish. You can do it angled. You can do it head on. Some people do it this way. Some people show more than just, here, let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Oh, I guess my fingers right now sometimes, I don't know, the temperature of my hands makes it hard to use touch screen things. I don't know if anyone else experiences that, but so another way that you can do the bear claw is without an accessory. A lot of people like to put polish, put brushes, even holding a piece of fabric like your favorite sweater or something like that, or you don't even have to hold anything. So you can do the bear claw. That is another really awesome way to feature your nails and also feature products. So for those of you who are ambassadors, you are probably, or not even ambassadors, people who want to be sponsored by companies, people who are trying to grow their Instagram, you want to get more reposts by companies, then product placement is going to be key. Also, please ignore the fact that my top coat is like peeling. That's what happens when I was trying to rush. So product placement is going to be key when you are taking photos for those of you who are trying to grow your Instagram and get more reposts, trying to get sponsors, etc., all of that things. You want to make sure that the product label is visible so that way the company can repost you and share all of that good content with you using their product. So again, there are so many varieties of the bear claw. I've seen people do it close-handed. I've seen people kind of do it like this where it's open. I've seen people hold an object. There are many different ways that you can work that pose to make it look good on your hand. Another pose, and the final pose of the three, is going to be crisscross applesauce. So, it would be like this pose. For this, you're probably going to need a friend or a phone arm or something to kind of hold the camera, because it's really hard to do this pose when you have both hands down, obviously. So you would just go ahead and place one hand over. Let me try and see how I can like maneuver this. So you would place one hand down and then one hand over like this. The point is that you can see all 8 of the nails. So I think some people have also called like that the shotgun pose. But yeah, you can place all 4 fingers on top of each other like this so that way you can see more of the nail art. And this is also a really good pose for those who are looking to lengthen their fingers. Now let me show you what I did wrong in these photos. So we talked about how in this photo, the lighting is kind of off, and you can see it too because here it's kind of darker, while here it's a lot brighter. In this pose, when I did the bear claw, I'm giving you mostly palm. So, you know, when you're doing the bear claw pose, the goal usually is to show the nails, and also if you're holding an item, you might want to show the label for the product. In here, as you can see, you have no idea what kind of product I'm holding, so you cannot see the label. Also, like if your followers see it and they're like, hey, I really like that polish, where did you get it from? Or hey, I really like that product, where did you get it from? If you're showing the label, that eliminates all the questions and it makes it a lot easier too. So here I'm doing too much of this, so the camera is angled weird and you're getting mostly just my palm. Instead of me kind of tilting my hand back so you can see the nails in focus. Okay, here I did that pose, but if you look really closely here, this nail is now overlapped on my pinky and now it's making a weird, a weird little nail shape thing there. It looks like two nails have merged into one, especially because it's just a plain color and it just looks kind of funky. So, you know, thinking of that when you are trying to do the hand over each other pose, that is something to be aware of. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but the angle that I had to take this photo, my hands were almost tilted up like this. And that's also kind of strange because when the camera looks at it, it's gonna see this like weird angle. And the whole point is that you want to elongate the fingers. So if it's tilted up, you're not really gonna see that very well. But if you tilt it down, you get a much better angle of the nail art. Okay, the last photo in here that is just kind of rough is this photo. So it's very yellow. And this is what happens when you're using a light or bulb that has a very strong yellow tint. These other photos that I took here, this is all natural lighting. This was not a fluorescent lighting or blue lighting or cool lighting. This was like a very strong yellow light, and as you can see, it's creating a weird like filter over my hands. So a lot of times I would recommend to people to stay away from that, because if the whole goal is to show off your nail art, to show off products, whatever it is, then putting a yellow tint on your hands doesn't really give the true representation of all that hard work and beautiful art that you created. So I highly recommend that if you are needing to buy bulb because maybe you cannot have natural light, or maybe you take photos at nighttime, so that's, you know, not a possibility for you, try getting a cool light, a light bulb that has cool lighting. So for example, the light bulb that I have now currently has very cool lighting, and you can even tell when you use your phone, open up the camera, put your hand under the camera like how it is now, and you'll be able to see, does your hand look the same color on the camera as it does in person? I think that's one of the easier ways to tell if you have a cool light versus if you have a yellow light. Because in this photo, we can see that is not how yellow my hand looks. Like this is not the true tone or color of my hand. And if I was wearing maybe, for example, a white manicure, that wouldn't have been the true tone of the white polished manicure. Because I'm wearing black, it doesn't matter as much. But again, if you spend all this time in your nail art, you want people to get the real thing, the true feeling of it. So that is another important factor that I want to share with you guys when you're taking photos. So again, the 3 poses is the long fingered pose, variations of the bear claw look great, and also hands crossed over. Those are probably the 3 poses that we use the most when we are taking photos for nails at Maniology. And again, these It's not the one size fits all. It's not an end all be all. You guys can do whatever you want. Get creative. We love seeing that kind of stuff. But these are just some simple basic tips that you can do at home today if you want to. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some images of photos where I adjusted my pose, I adjusted the lighting, and you can see the difference. So instead of me giving you palm here, I'm giving you a lot of palm. I kind of brought my hand back and I got rid of the bottle just because for my particular hand, sometimes when I'm holding objects, it makes it really hard for me to get the right angle of the nails. Again, some people who have longer fingers, they probably won't have an issue with those types of poses. But for me, because my fingers are shorter, I have a harder time trying to grip a large bottle. So this was with me kind of, again, coming further back. And you can see my wrist, so it also helps to kind of, I don't know how to explain, like, it just kind of gives it a more finished look, in my personal opinion. This is just like a simple explanation of how I feel that it helps my hand. But again, if that's not your style, that's completely okay. Do whatever makes you happy. This is another picture where, you know, I adjusted that straight angled pose, and instead of doing it downward or upward, like how I did earlier, I just flipped the photo so that way it's facing downward. So it's just another variety and way that you can use that pose. And this was the last version of the bear claw that I wanted to show you guys, because again, I have smaller fingers and shorter fingers. It's really hard for me to grip things that are large. So when I was gripping the polish, I actually had to like bring it down more. Instead of doing this, I really had to like tilt my arm or my wrist slightly forward. So, you know, when I was holding the polish, so that way it compensates for the fact that my hands can barely fit fully over it and hold it properly. And that's how I got this image right here. And then I also kind of zoomed out, so again, you can see more of my wrist. And that way, the main focus isn't just so close up to my hand and seeing so much of my palm in that way that I was showing you earlier. Now, for the last pose that I was talking to you guys about, the double-handed pose, personally, I do not feel that my hands look great in that pose. I don't know why, I just personally don't like the way that my hands look like that. But there are tons of people whose hands look fabulous in it. And this is one example. This is my marketing manager, and we did the crossover hand pose for her, and it looks beautiful. Her hands look great. It really highlights the nail art. You can see everything going on. Also, there's a little bit of product placement in here because, again, we did want to share with all of you what plate we were using in this manicure. So with us putting the plate there, you automatically know that way. If you want it, you can just go to the site, type in the number, and there's no questions. You don't have to send us, you know, DMs asking, hey, what did you use? What plate is that? Because that's something that we always get. So it's just a way to kind of help everyone out in some, you know, and get the ball rolling on that. That way you have less questions asking you about these things. So now I want to show you some customer images that were so awesome and they did such a great job. I just wanted to take time to highlight that and show you the different variations of how you'll see people use these. So this customer is doing the bear claw. Her name, I know you guys can't really see, her name is Sweet Summer Nails. And as you can see, she completely nailed it. I can even tell that she moisturized around her cuticles and her hands to get that nice healthy glow. And we can even see the product placement. So in case you guys were wondering, hey, what polish is she using? Well, we know that it's a Maniology pink polish. In this person's manicure, they're doing Zen, I believe this customer's name is Zen Stamping, and she included a little cup that, you know, matched her manicure perfectly. So that was a way that she kind of did like a play on the bear claw since she's using both hands. This was a great way to showcase her nail art and all that hard work that she's done. And I love that she's got kind of a simple background that matches her manicure. Accessories in hand photos are awesome. So I highly recommend play around, try it out. This customer, his name is Manny Franny on Instagram. Unfortunately, I had to make her photo a little smaller just because I was trying to do a square format so you could all see. So please excuse the fact that it's slightly cut off, but this is another version of the bear claw and I just wanted to show you. So instead of it being angled like how I had in my photos, she just did it straight. And she's also holding an item here that you can see. Again, accessories and a cute background really help to make the photo more special, especially because I think it matches with her nail art. It kind of gives that, you know, mystical, shimmery vibe, and it looks so good. And this person's name is Movie Nails. So she is doing the straight hand pose, the single straight hand pose. And as you can see in this pose, her fingers aren't necessarily closed, but they still look great. So again, there are so many ways to play with these 3 poses to do something fabulous. And you don't have to do it exactly like how we said. Try something different and make it your own. That's the whole point of this. Like, you know, if there's a certain look or vibe you want people to see when they come to your social media, play around. Also, I love the fact that she took this outside, so there's great natural lighting, and the background is kind of blurred out, so the primary focus is her nail art. Even though we see like a lot of different things going on in the background, it's not distracting because her nail art is still in focus, and it's nice and clear, and the lighting is very good. For all of these images that we've seen today, from our customers. So you can see the lighting is great. No yellow lighting. It looks like natural. A lot of this looks like natural outdoor lighting or cool toned lighting. So I feel like this person is probably indoors and it looks like they're using a cool tone light bulb. And maybe same with this person, I want to say. However, these two look like they're natural outdoor lighting and it looks so good. So other things that I wanted to show you is ways that you can use different props. I'm going to show you something that I've used a bunch for my personal photos, and you're going to probably laugh because it is a 2017 cover from an old notebook. One of my coworkers was leaving and she was about to trash her notebook because she'd used it all up. But I was like, wait, I really like this background. It's perfect. So whenever I take photos, I'm usually just put the hand right over there and we don't see the logo anymore. So this is just, again, another example of a fun background, and you don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money. I'm sure you have lots of things around the house. At the bare minimum, you could always just use a white piece of paper as a background, so that way your nail art stands out and contrasts against it. So for example, when I do this, you can see that there is a very strong contrast because the background is nice and light and the nails are very dark. So that is one option. Take a look at any books or things that you love, because I have this notebook, for example, that I really like, and it's super cute. It's just got like this star background on it, and that has also worked for a super awesome background. Right now I have black nails, so this probably wouldn't be the ideal one, but you know, again, I'm sure you guys have something awesome at home. For example, you could try like Zen stamping. In the photo that I showed you, she was using a cup. This is a lid from a container that I got from like TJ Maxx or something, and it is the perfect background for a manicure. So there are tons and tons of things that you can do. You'd be surprised how many times I've used weird objects to take photos because you just never know what will match. Even, let's see, I even have my hat right here. I feel like that could be really cute if you do a bear claw like that. And you know, it just adds a little texture. It's something interesting, but it's a solid color, so it's not going to be too distracting for manicures. So again, explore, try different things, you know, play around with different products, play around with different polishes, use whatever you want. You can use books or cups, brushes. I mean, really, it's completely up to all of you. Get creative because I know you guys are. And Jamie said relaxed fingers look better in pictures. Jamie is right. Don't be so strong. You don't want to make your fingers look all red like how I am here with like a tight closed fist. Relax. Because if not, it'll look stiff in the photos. Also, another thing that I want to recommend is sometimes when you do the bear claw, like the pinky has a tendency to get tucked back here. Try your best to kind of adjust it. See how my fingers kind of get all tucked strangely? And again, this doesn't happen to everybody, but for some people it does. For me, it does sometimes. So I just have to like pull my fingers out a little bit so that way they can lie flatter so you can see more of the nail art and they don't get tucked behind my other finger and you don't see weird shadows. Yes, there's lots of people who are saying that they love thumb poses. I love a good thumb pose too. I think a perfect example would be like, you know, using just a simple object and then just showing just the thumb is always really cute as well. No discrimination against the thumbs. Show the thumbs all you want. But I just felt like the thumbs is sometimes more of a more tricky pose. I feel like it's a more advanced pose versus, you know, the poses that I mentioned today. Plus, as much as I love the thumb pose and I think it's great, sometimes you want to see all of the nails. Like, I want to know what you did for all 8 nails or 10 nails, depending how many you can fit in. But I want to see the full look. I don't want just a teaser. But if you want to do that, go right ahead. It looks great. I love seeing it as well. Also, last thing I want to say is remember to use relevant hashtags. That is important. Mention the companies, use relevant hashtags. That gets more eyes on your posts and your pictures and all the hard work that you've done. Because honestly, at the end of the day, like, the whole point of us posting on social media is that we want to share the things that we're so proud of making, all this time, all this money, all this energy spent into our beautiful creation, and people should be able to see it. So if you don't use relevant hashtags, you're not mentioning companies, we can't see what you created. And that's just really not fair to your designs because you all spent so much time making this beautiful art. And I want to see, what did you create? So again, using those relevant hashtags, mentioning companies just gives more eyes to your amazing creation and gorgeous designs. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining us again, and I will see you guys a little later next week. Talk to you later. Bye.